Hello and welcome to tutorial 23 in the Microsoft Visual Basic .NET programming tutorials. Right now we're going to take a little break from the hard coding, and there's a lot of coding to come up like booleans and doubles and whatnot, but for this one we're going to use a little fun tool called the timer. Now first create a project and just call it timer. Okay, so basically what a timer is it will allow you to execute a code every x seconds or milliseconds. So let's say we want to show a message box every 10 seconds. We could simply do this by using a timer. So let's go ahead and put the timer in there. And this is not going to be how to create an actual stopwatch or anything like that, but this is just an example of how we could use the timer to count up time. So you're going to add a timer and it's going to show up on the bottom here, and then simply add a text box and we'll give it the value of 1. Okay, so now that you have that, you need to also add a button and call that start. Okay, so this is a pretty hard concept to grasp if you've never programmed before. Well, I don't think there are timers in many more programming languages, but it's still quite a hard concept to grasp, so just try and follow if you can. So if we double click this timer code right here, in between this timer1 underscore tick and this private sub here and end sub, this is the code that's going to be executed every x seconds. So what we want this to do is take textbox1.text equals textbox1.text plus 1. So that all that's going to do is every time this timer executes the code, it's going to add 1 to the text inside textbox1. So, and I should probably create an integer for this, but that doesn't really matter because all we're doing really is learning how a timer works. We're not creating a stopwatch here. So now that you have this set up, you're thinking, okay, that's fine, but how do I actually use the timer? So if you double click start, the button one.click, there's two ways you can do this. The first way is by typing timer1.start like that, and that will start the timer. And the second way is by typing timer1.enabled equals true. Now either way is going to start the timer, but for this we'll just use timer1.start. So now that you have that, we're actually going to create another button as well to stop the timer. So create another button and change the text to stop, and you should know what the text in this is going to be. It's going to be timer1.stop. Okay, so let's just look over this. Up here at the top in timer1 underscore tick, this sub, we have the code that's going to be executed every time the timer, well, every x seconds that we're going to set it to. And then in the button 1, it's going to start the timer, and button 2, it's going to stop. So now we're nearly done. The last thing we need to do is to configure how often the timer will execute the code. So all you do is simply click on a timer down here, and then up here near the bottom you'll see interval. Now for every 1000 that represents a second, so change the interval to 1000 for a second, and then if you want 2 seconds it's 2000 and etc. But let's just change this to 1000. And now that we have that set up, we'll just go to the debug. And now when we start this 1 will keep increasing every 1 second. So let's hit start. 2, 3, 4, see, and it keeps going on until we stop the timer by hitting the stop button. And then if we want to go on again, it's going to count from textbox1.text, so it will keep going up, and then we'll stop. So that was just a little tutorial on how the timer works. It's really useful part of the programming language, and it's used in a lot of things like keyloggers to send log files every x seconds, and in antis and things like that, so you really need to know what a timer is and how to work it. And I'm actually going to teach you how to set the interval as well. You could also type timer1.interval equals 1000 if you wanted to. That would change the interval. You could change it to 2000, or you could even change it to textbox2.text if you had a second text box. But right now, that's all you need to know to understand how a timer works and how to use one. So thanks for watching the tutorial, and please comment if you have any questions. Please comment also if you have any suggestions or a request, and also rate the video and subscribe. Thanks.